Okay, so my name is Samantha, and I'm a co-founder of Sankofa Empowering Women in Ghana, or Sewing for short. I want to stress that this presentation is in no way about me, but I thought I'd provide you some context about how our first year got involved with such an issue. So during the height of the pandemic, I saw the intensification of pre-existing inequalities and also the introduction of new ones. So I decided that I personally wanted to bolster my volunteering efforts, and I joined an international peace program called Peace Jam. And in Peace Jam, I met 3 other young leaders, which is how sewing all began. Now going into the background of this issue, in the northern part of Ghana, a lot of girls and their families experience extreme poverty, and a lot of these girls also experience limited access to education due to gender inequality reasons and also financial stress. So they're almost forced to migrate to Accra, which is in the southern part of Ghana, in order to find the ways to support themselves and their family. This typically takes the form of them entering an exploitative labor cycle that runs on child labor and female exploitation. Typically in this labor cycle, they work as IiA. Specifically, IiA can be as young as 8 years old, working grueling hours every single day. They're overworked and underpaid, working over 14 hours per day for just $2, if anything. They also carry up to 200 pounds on their heads. Even though this labor cycle is really exploitative, for a lot of these girls, it's the only option, which is why you see 8-year-olds carrying hundreds of pounds on their heads. And any change thus far trying to be made by individuals or organizations have been on a micro level and not really on a systemic level to address the systemic issue. I recognize, along with the rest of the sewing team, that we created this program while we all lived in the United States. So we recognize that we don't have the most detailed and comprehensive perspective as someone actually living in Ghana, which is why we place a big emphasis on listening and learning from our Ghanaian partners. We spoke to over 60 different stakeholders, all living in Ghana. 2 big organizations we've spoken to have been the West African Center for Peace and also the Ministry of Health in Ghana. They're located in the southern part of Ghana, and they're really helpful with connecting us to people living in the northern part of Ghana, which is where the cycle all begins. So we were able to do a deeper stakeholder dive in the northern part of Ghana, specifically in the Kwapela region. This stakeholder trip was led in person in Ghana by the West African Center for Peace and was funded through a multi-$1,000 donation that the US founders were able to obtain through Rotary. This trip lasted 3 days, encompassed over 800 miles of travel, and we're able to talk with around 30 community members and people on the leadership team. And we had a really productive conversation of how to best address the needs and wants of people actually living in Ghana without just assuming things ourselves. And they're really excited to meet with us. We were able to ascertain how to leverage local resources, and we're also able to partner with a training center already located in the northern part of Ghana to house the sewing program. Now, after talking to all these different stakeholders, they've helped inform our solution, which is Sankofa Empowering Women in Ghana, or sewing. Sewing has 3 big focuses. First, education. Sewing is an entrepreneurship and skills training fellowship program in the textile and fashion industry. So fellows in the program can receive an education while also receiving a stipend. We also place a big emphasis on environmental sustainability, and all the cloth we use in the program, we aim to be repurposed clothing waste from the fast fashion industry. And please ask me any questions you have on that. Another thing we focus on is community empowerment. We really envision sewing as being a sustainable way out of exploitation, which is why we want to get the community involved as much as we possibly can. Which is why, in addition to the big emphasis we place on education, we also place a big emphasis on having our fellows showcase what they've learned to the greater Kwapela community in order to inspire the next generations of girls. Our 3 main focuses in innovation action have been fundraising, making sure we have the funds to run this program. Equally, if not more important, has been publicizing, making sure people can actually know about human rights violations so they can address them, and then also connecting. We realize that a systemic exploitation issue cannot just be solved by a few individuals, which is why we're committed to building a global network of changemakers, and we formed relationships between Ghana, United States, Germany, Singapore, and more. Firstly, to alert people to human rights violations, we presented on local, national, and international levels at places like American University, Charity Banquet, and International Peace Award Show. I will highlight 3 of our most recent ones. Firstly, this past December in Seoul, South Korea, we presented at the World Summit of Nobel Peace Laureates. We're one of 14 projects selected internationally to do so at their Peace Labs. Earlier in 2022, we presented at a national peace conference featuring Nobel Peace Laureate Kailash Satyarthi, whose work to free hundreds of thousands of children from child labor. And 3, Westerman is a German grade school textbook publishing company, and we will be featured in their 2023-2024 textbook. IiA is our newest partner. They're a Ghanaian-based fashion brand who has been featured in Vogue, Accra Fashion Week, and more. And we partnered with them because they really align with our mission of wanting to inspire the younger generation and also empowering girls. They've so graciously donated 10% of the profits from their 2023 fashion line to us, so we're so grateful and excited for this partnership. You're probably looking at this presentation and realizing that we have a lot of things set up. We have publicity opportunities, we have partners, we have a training center. So where will this money actually go? And the answer to that is that even though we have a lot of things set up, we simply do not have enough funds to run this program, which is why any money we're able to obtain through IiA will go directly to student expenses and program development costs. Another thing you're probably wondering is how you know we'll be able to support and sustain ourselves even after Innovation in Action is over. Peace Gym is the international peace organization I mentioned at the very beginning of this presentation, how I got involved with this in the first place. Since its founding in the 1990s, it's been led by the guidance of 14 Nobel Peace Laureates such as the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. They've created over 100 million acts of peace in 41 countries with over 1.3 million youth. So sewing is run through and backed by Peace Gym. Even though I'm the only one presenting to here today, I have two other amazing people on my Innovation in Action team. Queen Balina is another co-founder and a first year at Harvard University, and Rachel Lobel is one of our former interns and a recent graduate of the University of Michigan. In addition to these two amazing women, we have around 20 people on the sewing team in general who have been really influential to the progress of sewing. A huge thank you to all of our partners and sponsors who helped us along the way. I've listed some of their logos on the screen. And thank you for listening, and please let me know if you have any questions.